All right, so I've noticed a lot of us are struggling with filling in this quadratic table. So I gave you three functions. F of x is in standard form already, x squared minus 6x plus 8. G of x is in factored form, x minus 3 times x minus 5. And h of x is in vertex form, x minus 5 squared minus 1. I would recommend you pause the video right now and jot this table down so that you can actually follow along. And throughout this whole video, I would recommend pausing it to make sure that you're getting down all the work, because I'm not going to go slow. I'm going to go as fast as I can to make this video shorter for you. Okay, so I'm going to work with just f of x first, where I'm just going to focus on that guy. And I noticed that right away, my standard form, the part that it gives me here, I know I need to get factored form, vertex form, x-intercepts, y-intercepts, and my vertex. Looking at this standard form, it's ax squared plus bx plus c. This c is always your y-intercept. So I know that this guy right here, that is my y-intercept. So the y-intercept will be 0, 8, positive 8. So this guy, I would write in here, this gives me the y-intercept. Okay, so that's important to know. Now, if I wanted to factor it, I need to set it up as x squared. So I'll do all of f of x work right here. Okay. X squared minus 6x plus 8. And I would just put my little x underneath there because I know negative 6 needs to go underneath the positive 8. So I have to think of two numbers that multiply to positive 8 but add to negative 6. So it's either going to be two negatives or two positives, but since this guy's a negative, I know it's got to be two negatives to multiply to this positive 8. And I know it's 4 and 2. So these are going to go inside of my factors. So my factors are x minus 4 times x minus 2. Okay, just like that. All right, I should have written that smaller. My bad. We'll work it out. So x minus 4 times x minus 2. So those are my x-intercepts. That's what those give me, right? Only if you set them each equal to 0, though. So I would set x minus 4 equal to 0. I add 4 to both sides. I get x equals 4. So one of my x-intercepts is 4, 0. Okay? So I can write that down. One of my x-intercepts is 4, 0. All right? And then if I were to set x minus 2 equal to 0, add 2 to both sides, x equals 2. So one of my intercepts is 2, 0. All right? So now I only have 2 empty spots in this box I got to fill in. Okay, so for the vertex form, I do need a little bit more room. So we'll make this work. Hold on. So for the vertex form, I'm going to do it on the whiteboard just so I have enough room for everything. So I'm going to start off with my standard form. That's the most important form there, is standard form. You want it equal to 0, okay? So I'm going to start off by subtracting 8 from both sides. So I'm going to have x squared minus 6x blank equals negative 8. So I know I need to add negative 6 over 2 squared to both sides. Okay. So x squared minus 6x plus 9, negative 3 squared is 9, equals negative 8 plus 9. So this guy here will be x minus 3 squared equals 1. Negative 8 plus 9 is 1. And then I got to subtract that 1 over to get it into vertex form. Minus 1 equals 0. So x minus 3 squared minus 1 is my vertex form. Okay, again, pause if I'm going too fast. Just pause the video and then you can get caught up. All right, so x minus 3 squared minus 1. That right there gives me the vertex, okay? So this guy here gives me the vertex. I should have written this guy. Okay, so the vertex here is always the opposite of what's inside. So this is going to be 3, negative 1. Opposite of what's inside, comma, the outside. That's why we had to subtract the 1 over. So that's the whole first row for f of x. That one's good and done, okay? Now, for the green one, g of x, so this will all be g of x right here, okay? For this guy, I gave you guys the factored form. Now, I want the standard form, but you do notice the factored form gives you a piece of your puzzle already. this guy gives you the x-intercepts. So remember, if you just set x minus 3 equal to 0 and x minus 5 equal to 0, you solve for x, and then that gives you your x-intercepts. So x equals 3 and x equals 5. So now my x-intercepts are 3, 0, and 5, 0. I can't find these things yet until I convert to standard form and vertex form, though, right? Standard form gives me the y-intercept, vertex form gives me the vertex, right? So here, what I'm going to do first is I have x minus 3 times x minus 5. A lot of you like the box, the area model, so I'm going to go and set that up. And we're going to put our factors on the outside, just like that. So I'm going to simplify, multiply to get my standard expanded form inside. X times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x. And negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. Now I notice right away that negative 5x minus 3x are like terms. I can combine them. So this all equals x squared minus 8x plus 15. That right there is my standard form. Okay? So I'm going to have x squared minus 8x plus 15. And this will give me my y-intercept, right? It is always the c term. So this here is positive 15. So my y-intercept is 0, 15. Okay, so you can fill in pieces as you go, right? Now I need vertex form. So once again, it's going to be, I'll do it on this because it's a little bit longer, I know. So if we have x squared, you have to start off with your standard form. X squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. First, you got to move that 15 over and just let it chill off to the side for a while, okay? So we're going to have x squared minus 8x and then a blank spot equals negative 15, okay? So then I know I need to add b over 2 squared to both sides. My b here is negative 8. So I'm adding negative 8 over 2 squared to both sides. Negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is positive 16. So I'm going to have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals negative 15 plus 16. Just like that. And now we go through with completing the square, writing it in the complete square form. So inside of here is always x plus whatever b over 2 is. In this case, b over 2 is negative 8 over 2, which is negative 4 squared, equals negative 15 plus 16 is 1. You subtract the 1 from both sides, you're going to get x minus 4 squared equals, x minus 4 squared minus 1 equals 0. So now here is your vertex form, x minus 4 squared minus 1. Okay? So x minus 4 squared minus 1. Again, that gives you your vertex. Okay? So that's where you pull your vertex information from, your vertex. All right? So our vertex is the opposite of negative 4, which is positive 4, comma negative 1. Negative 1 is what it is, right? So h of x now. I'm going to put away this green. For h of x, I give you the vertex right away, vertex form. So this guy here gives me the vertex. It's the opposite of negative 5. So it's going to be 5, comma, the negative 1. Okay? 5, comma, negative 1. All right? So now I need to find standard form before I can do the factored form. Okay? So for h of x, I'm going to start out, I notice x minus 5 squared minus 1. X minus 5 squared is the exact same as x minus 5 times x minus 5. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to write it out as x minus 5 times x minus 5 minus 1. That minus 1 still has to be there. But I want to expand out x minus 5 times x minus 5. So I'm going to use an area model. Okay. Just like that, to multiply together those two factors. Because those two are factors, but then we have this minus 1 out here that needs to be included in it somehow. So first we have to expand it in order to include that negative 1. So x times x is x squared. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x, negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. And then again, I notice I have like terms right here. Negative 5x minus 5x is negative 10x. So my standard form is going to be x squared minus 10x plus 25. And then this minus 1 has to come back down. Still have to include that. So now I have x squared minus 10x plus 24. That is your standard form right there for you, okay? So x squared minus 10x plus 24. And once again, this guy gives you the y-intercept, okay? So our y-intercept is going to be 0, 24 for us, okay? 0, 24. Now I need to do it in factored form. Which this guy, actually, I'm just going to do it right below here. So I'm just going to pull h of x here. So h of x is x squared minus 10x plus 24. Right? All of these are equal. They're just written in different forms. So they're all still the same function. They're all h of x here. But they're just in different forms. So now I want it in the factored form. So what I'm going to do is draw my little x box thing, because it is factorable. And then negative 10 goes down here. So I need to find my factors. Two numbers that multiply to a positive 24, but add to negative 10. So I know since this guy's a negative, I need to have these be negatives in order to multiply to be a positive. Negative times negative is positive. So I know this is going to be negative 6 and negative 4. Negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. So my factored form is going to be x minus 6 times x minus 4. Okay, so that is your factored form for this equation. And once again, that gives you your x-intercepts. Okay, so you can kind of notice that you start to just take the opposite. Here, if I were to do x minus 6 equals 0, I would add 6 over. So x equals 6. So one of my x-intercepts is 6, 0. And then the other one, x minus 4 equals 0, I would add 4 over, just like in these examples I did here. So my other y-intercept is going to be a positive 4, 0. And you can always check these on Desmos too. You won't get to use Desmos on the test, but at home you can always check your work by plugging in whatever function I give you as like h of x equals this or y equals this, and see what the parabola looks like, see where the x-intercepts are, see where the y-intercept is, and see where the vertex is as well. You can check your work that way. So hopefully this helps you guys clear up any misconceptions or remind you what we did a few chapters ago. All right, study hard.